The number of babies born during the first 8 months of the year increased by the largest margin in 18 years, while also marking the first time the January to August tally has risen year on year since 2015.
올해 1월부터 8월 국내 출생아 수가 18년 만에 가장 큰 폭으로 늘어난 한편 2015년 이후 처음으로 전년 대비 증가세도 나타났습니다. Tell us more.
Yeah, so according to data from the Ministry of Data and Statistics, 168,000 babies were born between January and August of this year alone, and that's up 6.8%, quite a significant increase compared to 2024. And it's the first time this tally has risen year on year since 2015. Since then, it's been decreasing on an annual basis, but for the first time, we've seen an increase since 2015, and it's the largest expansion, this 6.8% since 2007. So even if you look in the short term, just in August alone, 3.8% increase, more than 20,000 babies, new little ones adding to the population here in South Korea.
Well, that is good news.
Yeah.
2024년 대비, 그러니까 작년 대비 올해 1월부터 8월까지 6.8%의 증가율을 보인 출생아 수입니다. Now, we're always worried about the shrinking population, especially the babies not being born, but this is good news.
It is good news, and it is a big social problem. It's also an economic problem. Of going back to APEC, it was a big issue.
Was it?
Something that, actually the country brought up as the chair as one of the main issues to talk about, these demographic changes that a lot of economies are experiencing. But it looks like the trajectory is in the right direction now for Korea.
그래요. 아무래도 경제 얘기가 주된 그런 이제 아젠다에 있었던 것이었기 때문에 지난주에 경제 그 무역이라든지 이런 얘기도 많이 나왔겠지만 이런 인구 통계학적인 내용, 출산도 경제와 너무나 밀접한 관련이 있어서 그 내용도 지난주에 많이 나왔군요. 자, 표현 좀 보겠습니다. The number of babies born increased by the largest margin.
Margin. M-A-R-G-I-N. Margin, right? It typically means the gap or the difference in something. But there's another meaning. It's the edge of something, right? You could be the edge of a piece of paper or a country. But in this case, so the largest margin would be the biggest gap. Usually when you're talking about something or comparing something, there's a big difference in it, right?
Even our script right now, 지금 이제 우리 원고를 보게 되면은요, 겉에 약간 이제 테두리처럼 글씨가 끝까지 가 있지 않고 한 2cm, 3cm 정도 띄워놓고 그 안에 들어가 있잖아요. 그런 것들도 다 margin이라고 부르는 거 맞나요?
Right. In that case, it'd be more the edge of something.
Okay.
Right? So sort of the margins of society or the margins of a room. You can call it, but it is similar in that you're talking about the gap or the difference in things. I remember in college, of course, when you write an essay paper, back in the day, we would kind of increase the margins on the paper so you can write less in your essay if you need like a 10-page paper. For example.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I had the sort of opposite experience, but when I was in middle school in the UK, our English teacher would always say, leave a margin before you start writing.
Yes.
Otherwise, it looks messy, it's hard to read, and you just need a little space right before you start.
Right. You indent it. In it, right? But yes, in this case, so the margin, what were we talking about? We were talking about the gap or the difference within this span of 18 years.
그래요. 그러니까 margin, M-A-R-G-I-N이라는 게 어떤 간격입니다. 그래서 18년 만에 가장 큰 간격으로 이제 많이 출생아 수가 늘어난 것이라고 할 수 있겠고요. And this is a tally.
Yeah, so a tally, T-A-L-L-Y, is basically a count or a record of something. When you're counting, so think of, in school when you're doing 반장선거. Someone gets up into the front and you're counting the votes. You're counting the tally of something. Right?
You know what I'm going to ask you now?
What is that?
Were you ever the 반장?
No, I was not. I was
부반장?
I have been 부반장, 부회장, things like that. But I always thought interesting how in Korea, when you count in fives, you use the 발을 정자.
맞아요.
Right? That's how you keep a tally. You keep a record or a tally.
That's right.
As they say, right?
And you don't use this in English-speaking countries, obviously.
No, you use the 4 and then you put a line
diagonal
in the middle.
line in the middle. 맞아요. 자, tally라는 거는 이렇게 우리가 숫자를 기록할 때 tallying 한다라고 하는데요. 반장 선거가 아주 대표적인 우리 학교에서 하는 거죠. 그때 몇 명이 투표를 했느냐, 뭐 득표 수를 가지고 발을 정자 하나, 둘, 셋, 넷, 다섯 이렇게 한국에서는 쓰죠. 외국에서는 아무래도 이제 중국어 베이스가 아니니까 하나, 둘, 셋, 넷, 세로 짝대기. 그 다음에 마지막으로 다섯 번째는 대각선 짝대기. 이렇게 해가지고 5개씩 그룹핑을 해서 tallying을 합니다. 자, tallying 동사도 되고 명사도 된다는 거. 다시 읽어볼게요. The number of babies born during the first 8 months of the year increased by the largest margin in 18 years, while also marking the first time the January to August tally has risen year on year since 2015. Here's our next headline.
The population of foreign residents in Korea, including naturalized citizens and children born in the country to parents of foreign nationality, has surpassed 2.5 million for the first time since the government began compiling related statistics in 2006.
국내에 장기 거주 중인 외국인 주민이 한국 국적을 취득한 경우 및 국내 출생 외국인 주민 자녀를 포함해 250만 명을 넘어섰습니다. 이는 관련 통계가 처음 발표된 2006년 이후 처음 도달한 수치입니다. Ooh, so more and more foreign residents or people of foreign nationalities.
Yeah, so and you have to be careful. So when you look at this article specifically, this is data from the Interior Ministry, and this differs from a tally by the Immigration Service here, because immigration looks at people that simply have Korean passports. So we're talking citizenry. But in this sort of I guess tally, if you want to use that word again. What we're talking about is for not only foreign nationals, we're talking about naturalized citizens, right? So people with foreign passports, but also people who have become Korean citizens not by birth. Do you follow that?
Yes.
So it's a little bit different. So if you look at the immigration figures, the number of foreign nationals is 2.04 million. But the Interior Ministry tally is 2.5 million, nearly 2.6 million, in fact, because you're accounting for the 5% of Korea's total population. This population is.
한국에서 거주하고 있는 외국인 주민뿐만 아니라 귀화한 외국인들도 포함이 되어 있는 숫자고요. 그 다음에는 이제 자녀 중에 외국인 부모를 두었거나 외국 국적의 부모를 둔 경우 다 포함을 해서 숫자가 꽤 큽니다. 250만 명. Some districts in Korea have less people than this, just the Korean population, right?
Right. So if you just look at the number alone, 51.8 million, the entire population, it's the equivalent to the entire population of North Gyeongsang province, which is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, definitely.
I do have my opinions on this, though, because you're really counting these Korean citizens. They are Korean citizens by any means or measure, but simply by the fact that they weren't born here, or they might not look like a certain what we imagine a Korean is. I don't know what the meaning or why we would need to keep a tally of this, because again,
what's the point, I guess?
What is the point of this? Because if any of these people, if you have a good example is in sports, if you wear the taegeukgi on your chest, I don't care where you were born, what your background is, you are Korean.
Well, speaking of sports, for example, in basketball, you have a quota for the 외국인 선수들, which is not a lot, and then you have the rest, which is all Korean. Now, the people we're talking about right now, they would be included in the Korean players, right? Because they were naturalized.
Not all are naturalized. If you're talking about the pros, they're not all naturalized. They just come here as 용병, as they call them here, right? But if you play for the national team, then you are naturalized.
Got it.
Yes.
Interesting.
A little different.
All right. Let's have a look at naturalized. We've been using this word a lot.
Yes.
Naturalized citizen.
Yeah, so a naturalized citizen is someone who was not born in the country that they've legally become a citizen of. So it's not by birth. A good example of this, usually in legal cases in the U.S., if you're a naturalized citizen, you're not allowed to run for president. That's the one public office that you're not allowed to hold in the U.S.
You have to have been born in the U.S.?
You have to have been born in the U.S.
I see. Okay.
Only president. You can become vice president, which is very strange, but strictly in the Constitution. It says that.
그렇군요. 미국 헌법에서는 대통령에 출마를 하려면은 반드시 미국에서 출생을 했어야 된다고 합니다. 그런데 미국인 중에는 미국에서 태어나지 않았어도 귀화한 미국인도 있을 수 있고요. 우리나라 마찬가지죠. 외국인 방송하는 분들도 굉장히 많으신데 보면은 이제 귀화하신 분들도 계세요. 자, 그런 걸 영어로는 naturalized citizen이라고 합니다. What about related data?
Yeah, so if something's related, we're talking something about a connection or there's a link in some way. We were talking about Jensen Huang earlier. He's sort of related to Korea. He has a relationship,
sure.
you would say. And I think the natural question would be to ask, what's the difference between a relation and a relationship? Because they're both nouns, right? But relation would be a little more sort of the general connection. You're talking about something more abstract.
Yep.
But a relationship is specifically a connection between something more personal, a social connection you can have.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
To be related, 연관이 돼 있다. 어떤 식으로든 연결고리가 있는 거죠. 자, 그럼 다시 한번 읽어보겠습니다. The population of foreign residents in Korea, including naturalized citizens and children born in the country to parents of foreign nationality, has surpassed 2.5 million for the first time since the government began compiling related statistics in 2006.
China has launched its 10th crew to the Tiangong space station, which has maintained a continuous presence in orbit since 2021, marking the 16th crewed mission of its Shenzhou program.
중국이 2021년부터 지속적으로 궤도를 돌고 있는 텐궁 우주정거장에 10번째 승무원을 파견했습니다. 이는 중국의 유인 우주선 프로그램인 선저우 계획의 16번째 임무에 해당합니다. Tell us more.
Yeah, so China is investing heavily into this space exploration. It's no secret about that. But on Friday, let's see here, late Friday, early Saturday here, I guess, in Korea, the Shenzhou 21 launched aboard a Changzheng 2FG vehicle, and it lifted off from the Jiquan Satellite Launch Center in Gansu Province in China. There's a crew there that will conduct 27 new experiments, and they weren't the only living organisms that were on this flight, because there were rodent mammals, including 4 mice that accompanied the crew to study the effects of gravity in enclosed spaces on these animals. So there was a big handover ceremony aboard the Tiangong space station there.
So they were literally lab rats for space.
Yes, they were, in fact. And, there was an existing crew there. And what they did was they switched. And they basically did a transfer. They tagged. And then the new crew here that lifted off will spend another 6 months on the station.
Okay, so what are they trying to do, figure out, find out?
Well, when you look at what these rats specifically will be doing is looking at the effects of gravity on the human body, on these animals specifically. But they're doing a total of 27 experiments during their rotation up in space. So, that is the next frontier, as they say.
Yeah.
And it looks like China is really investing heavily into this.
그렇군요. 실험용 쥐를 이제 가져가서 중력이 쥐에게 미치는 영향을 보고 그것으로 이제 인간에게는 어떤 영향을 미칠 것인가라는 것까지도 나중에 연결해서 연구를 할 것 같고요. 표현을 좀 보겠습니다. 중국이 계속해서 이제 우주 race라고 하잖아요. 영어는 space race.
Yep.
여기서
They call it almost the new space race because back in the 1960s, I think the Soviet Union and the US had one too, right?
그렇죠. 구소련과 미국의 스페이스 레이스가 예전에는 훨씬 독보적이었다면은 지금은 거의 뭐 미국과 중국 좀 많이 앞서가고 있는 것 같은데요. 다른 나라들도 많이 우리나라도 여전히 노력을 많이 합니다만. 자, 표현 한번 볼까요? China's continuous presence.
Yeah, so we're talking about the space station, and there have been humans aboard this space station without any interruption. So there's always someone out there. There was a hand over here. So if there's a continuous presence, it's constantly in that place or situation without interruption. You hear this in space, but you can also hear it in a legal context if you're talking about immigration. If you want residency in a certain country, for example, you need to have a continuous presence for 6 months or something, for example, right?
지속해서 머무르고 있어야 된다. 이런 요건이 충족이 되어야 이제 다른 나라에서 뭐 영주권을 얻는다든지 뭐 우리나라에서도 마찬가지죠. 뭐 시민권을 얻는다든지 할 때 참고가 될 텐데요. 여기서는 티안궁 우주정거장에서 지금 중국이 지속적으로 2021년부터 지금까지 쭉 임무를 수행하고 있습니다.
Yeah.
What's a crewed mission?
Yeah, so a crewed mission would be in space, aviation, or aboard a sea on the ocean. It's a mission that includes human beings on board that particular mode of transportation.
Yeah.
And if you want to contrast that to an uncrewed mission, that would be something that is headed by things like robots or drones, anything automated. So basically, humans are involved in this task. In the past, we would normally call these manned missions, but that's kind of an older term.
I was going to say.
That's less used less and less these days. But an astronaut mission you can say as well.
What did Armstrong say? Small step for man, a big leap for mankind.
Yes.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So back then, when we were talking about humans, we would also always say man, mankind. And then as the years went by, women started questioning this phrase. Why do you call humans men? And so now we try not to use manned, although you can use it. It's all right. But
although they say Neil Armstrong may have misspoke when he said that.
Really?
Or there was a problem in the transmission because it should be, it's one small step for a man as opposed, because if you just say
him.
one small step for, or for any singular human, right? But because if you say one small step for man, it means the same thing as mankind.
Yeah.
Right? So it should be one small step for a man, for one simple man, but a giant leap for mankind. But
that makes sense.
In any case, yes.
Yeah. 그래요. 자, 그래서 예전에는 유인 우주선이나 유인 우주 임무 얘기할 때 manned mission이라고 했는데 요즘은 가능하면은 성별이 들어가지 않은 단어 crewed mission이라고 합니다. 우리도 이제 뭐 step, crew 이런 단어들 쓰잖아요.
Sure.
같이 일하는 사람들.
On a plane, you have the passengers and the crew.
That's right. 자, 그럼 다시 한번 읽어보겠습니다. China has launched its 10th crew to the Tiangong space station, which has maintained a continuous presence in orbit since 2021, marking the 16th crewed mission of its Shenzhou program. Let's move on to the next headline.
Egypt has officially inaugurated the Grand Egyptian Museum, hailed as the world's largest archaeological museum, featuring approximately 100,000 artifacts that trace the country's history over 7 millennia from pre-dynastic periods to the Greek and Roman eras.
이집트가 세계 최대의 고고학 박물관이라 불리는 이집트 대박물관을 공식 개관했습니다. 이 박물관은 파라오 왕조 이전 시대부터 그리스 로마 시대에 이르기까지 약 7,000년의 역사에 걸친 10만여 점의 유물을 소장한 것으로 알려져 있습니다.
Yeah, this museum is actually pretty amazing because
sounds like it.
It's been a long project. It was first proposed back in 1992 to build such a museum here. It's actually near the great
30-some years.
Yeah, 36 years. No, 32 years.
Yeah.
3 if my math is correct.
30-something, yeah.
Construction actually began in 2005, so it took 20 years to build this museum. That's nearly as long as the same time period to build the Great Pyramid. So if you want to, compare, but it's colossal, this museum. It spans 500,000 square meters. It's the size of 70 football fields or pitches. The main highlight of this museum is that the entire contents of the tomb of the famous King Tut, Tutankhamun, the boy king, is displayed here ever since it was found discovered by the British archaeologists years ago. So if you're ever in Egypt,
So it's an intact tomb of King Tut?
Yeah, apparently.
I'd love to go.
Yeah, this museum, it cost a total of $1.2 billion or about 1.7 trillion won to build. And it's expected to attract up to 8 million visitors a year. So
Wow.
a huge boost to Egypt's tourism as well.
Oh,
not that it's already an tourist site, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are tons of Egyptologists and people who admire the history of Egypt already, but this is going to attract more people, I'm sure. I, for one, have never been to Egypt, but I'd
Neither.
like to go sometime. Maybe now that this museum is open,
Sure.
I could have a look at, the tomb of Tutankhamun. That'd
It
be
is
really
one of
interesting.
the birthplaces of one of the great four civilizations, right?
Yes, 맞습니다. 굉장히 거대해요. Colossal. 우리가 이제 콜로세움과 같은 어원을 가지고 있는 colossal이라고 하면은 어마어마하다, 규모가 크다 이런 뜻이 되고요. 그 다음에는 이제 King Tut는 닉네임인데 투텐카멘을 줄여가지고 이렇게 얘기를 하는 거죠. 우리말로는 좀 다르게 발음을 했던 것 같은데, 네, 이제 찾아보시면 너무나 유명한 고대 이집트 인물이니까 잘 아실 겁니다. 자, to be hailed as라는 표현 한번 볼까요?
Yeah, so the word is hail, right? Hail. When you hail something, you're praising it. You're recognizing it for its excellence, or it's something that's remarkable. But when you, it also means you can acclaim it or celebrate it. So in this case, we're talking about the museum. It's hailed as the world's largest. So you're calling it that. You can also hail a cab, right? Or
You can.
hail something.
Yeah, exactly. And back in the old days in Europe, people used to say, "Hail King Arthur."
Yeah.
So that's sort of
Hail
like
Caesar.
Hail Caesar.
Yeah.
It's like 만세, 약간 비슷한 느낌.
You're praising that person. My college, my alma mater, University of Michigan, the fight song is called "Hail to the Victors." It's one of the most famous college fight songs, I think.
그렇군요.
But you say "hail" a lot in that as well.
맞아요. 그래서 예전에는 왕들에 대해서 hail king 누구누구 이런 식으로 얘기해서 마치 무슨 만만세 하는 것 같은 느낌이었고 그다음 우리 이제 택시 부를 때도 hail a cab라고 하고요.
But you're not praising the cab.
맞아요.
You're calling
의미는
it.
다른데 hail은 똑같아요. 자, 여기서는 hailed as something. 무엇으로 찬사를 받는다라는 뜻입니다. 굉장히 큰 어마어마한 그런 박물관으로 찬사를 받고 있어요. In fact, the history of over 7 millennia, you can get a glimpse of at this museum. So what's millennia?
Millennia is simply the plural form of millennium,
Uh-huh.
meaning 1,000 years, right? So many, many thousands of years we're talking.
It must be Latin.
Yeah, probably.
Because the way it's pluralized is not English.
Right. And, it just means, literally in this case, you can talk about millennia, but if you just talk about millennia, it just means ages, eras, epochs, just a long period of time.
우리가 이제 새천년 막 그랬을 때 the new millennium이라고 했는데요. 단수일 때는 millennium이지만 복수일 때는 millennia라고 합니다. 라틴어를 어원으로 한 단어들은 이렇게 복수 형태가요. 독특해요. 또 뭐가 있을 수 있지?
A good example is data.
Data.
Right, because data is plural.
Yeah.
The singular is datum,
맞아요.
right? D-A-T-U-M.
그런 식으로.
데이터.
사실 굉장히 많습니다. 갑자기 생각은 안 나지만 그런 거 다 라틴어 어원으로 하고 있는.
Curriculum is another one.
Thank you.
Right?
그것도 맞아. 우리 커리큘럼 잘 아시죠? 근데 이제 커리큘럼의 복수 형태는 커리큘럼즈가 아니고요. 커리큘라입니다. 다시 읽어볼게요. Egypt has officially inaugurated the Grand Egyptian Museum, hailed as the world's largest archaeological museum, featuring approximately 100,000 artifacts that trace the country's history over 7 millennia, from pre-dynastic periods to the Greek and Roman eras. Here's our final headline.
The Maldives has become the first country in the world to implement a generational tobacco ban prohibiting anyone born after January 2007 from purchasing, using, or being sold tobacco products.
몰디브가 세계 최초로 비흡연 세대 법을 시행했습니다. 이 법에 따르면 2007년 1월 1일 이후 출생자는 몰디브 내에서 모든 형태의 담배를 피우거나 거래할 수 없습니다.
Yeah, so if you are under the age of 18 at this point in the Maldives, whether you're a citizen or a tourist, you will not be allowed to purchase or sell or use any sort of tobacco products, including e-cigarettes, and vapes. Obviously, this is for health reasons. It is the first country to do it, but not the first to actually pass a law because New Zealand tried to do this back in 2023, but it was repealed.
Yeah.
Basically, they retracted that ban.
Isn't it illegal for underage kids to buy tobacco anyway?
Yes, it is. But what we're talking about here is moving forward. So if you are born before the age or before 2007,
you mean these
for the rest of your life?
Yeah. So right. So let's say
can't
someone is
purchase it.
17 right now.
Yes.
They can't buy tobacco, obviously, because they're underage. But even if they turn 20,
Yeah.
30, 40, they will never be able to buy or smoke tobacco.
Yeah.
That's what it means.
Thank you for clearing that up. If I didn't make that clear.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
basically, they're applying it to people who are not born after a certain after January 2007.
말이 되네요. 그러니까 지금 2007년 1월 1일 이후 출생자는요. 평생입니다. 지금 뭐 18세 나이긴 하지만 지금만이 아니라 뭐 20세가 되든 50세가 되든 100세가 되든 평생 몰디브 내에서는 이제 이렇게 토바코 금지가 되는 거죠.
Yeah. If it was the other case where if you're underage, I think every country
Everyone,
has
that's what I was
bans
saying.
for tobacco.
It's
Yeah.
illegal for
Exactly.
anyone underage to buy tobacco. But yeah, in the Maldives, they're trying to make a new generation of healthier people, I guess. Yeah.
Yep,
Let's
that's
have a look
what
at
it is.
implementing this generational ban.
Yes. So when you implement something, you're putting a plan or an action or a policy into effect. You're executing it, right? And you're carrying it out.
그래요. 뭔가 실행할 때 implementing something 정책을 이행할 때도 쓰는 건데요. 이게 뭐 그런 거죠. 법이니까 앞으로 이렇게 쭉 실행이 될 겁니다. What about prohibiting people from doing something?
Yep, you're forbidding or making something illegal.
Yeah.
You're banning it or you're outlawing it.
Prohibiting, 금지하는 것을 얘기하죠. 다시 읽어보겠습니다. The Maldives has become the first country in the world to implement a generational tobacco ban, prohibiting anyone born after January 2007, from purchasing, using, or being sold tobacco products. And that's it for our 5 headlines.
Online shopping hit a record high in September with sales reaching 23.8 trillion won, the highest level for any September since 2017, driven by strong online electric vehicle sales.
국내 월간 온라인 쇼핑 거래액이 전기차 온라인 판매가 호조를 보이면서 지난 9월 23조 8천억 원을 기록해 2017년 관련 통계가 집계되기 시작한 이후 9월분 기준 최고치를 나타냈습니다. So the biggest thing here is that now you can buy EVs online.
Yes.
We're talking about Tesla, right?
Sure, yes. And so one of the biggest things has been this growth in automobiles and auto parts bought online.
Yeah.
I mean, it went up by 136.4%.
I mean, of course, because the prices of cars are more than your normal groceries.
Exactly, but that's still a huge amount.
It is.
It's a big amount, and that's contributed to this big uplift in online shopping transactions. We're looking at 23.79 trillion won, which is about 16.61 billion US dollars.
It's a lot of money.
It is. It's up 2.79 trillion won from a year earlier. But it's not just cars. It's also food services, beverages. They were up by 14% or around that way. And more people are using their phones. It's smartphones, tablets, and mobile devices. They've increased in usage by 11% on year. So more people are shopping online. I have to admit, I was shopping online before the show.
Oh, really? Were you?
Yeah, just some groceries, no cars.
Oh, okay, all right, I see. To hit a record high, what does that mean?
Yes, to hit a high means you're achieving that high, and we're talking about a number here. So to hit a record high means you'll get to that highest point, and it's higher than ever before because you're setting a record. So it's similar to break a record. We're hitting a high.
Yep, exactly. To break a record, to record a new high mark. 이게 최고치에 도달하다라는 뜻이겠죠. To hit a record high. What would be the opposite then if it's very low?
Well, to hit a record low. Yeah, we just go high and low in this case. Sometimes you can't use the antonym. There's another word we use. But for high, yes, low is the opposite.
Okay. And to be driven by something?
Yes, we're talking about cars here, but we're not talking about literally being driven. When something is driven by something else, it's being pushed, or it's being encouraged, or it's given the energy to do something, or it's caused by it.
Yes.
Whatever A is, it's making B do this.
그렇죠. Be driven by something. 무엇에 의해서 추진이 됐다. 그러니까 힘을 입었다라는 뜻이 될 거고요. 이렇게 9월 기준 온라인 쇼핑이 굉장히 높은 기록을 세운 것은 주된 그 원동력, 추진력이 어디서 왔느냐? 바로 온라인 전기차 판매량이 많이 늘었기 때문이라고 합니다. And you know, the thing I really like about the word trillion
Yes.
is that there is an exact equivalent in Korean.
Finally.
Exactly.
You have to go all the way up to a trillion to get it.
I know, because with all the other numbers, it's a little bit different. In Korea, we have man, og, and then 조, but in English, we have thousand, million, billion, trillion. And finally, with the trillion, you get that exact same point.
Yeah, I mean, at least 1,000 is also equal.
Oh,
Chun.
We do have
Yeah.
chun. You're right, actually.
So from
Good point.
chun to trillion.
But then we have a man right after chun, so
I know.
that's why it gets a bit confusing.
It is confusing.
All right, let me read the headline one more time. Online shopping hit a record high in September with sales reaching 23.8 trillion won. The highest level for any September since 2017, driven by strong online electric vehicle sales. Here's our next headline.
Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway has reported a sharp rebound in operating profit as its cash pile soared to a record $381.6 billion with no share buybacks.
워런 버핏 회장이 이끄는 투자사 Berkshire Hathaway의 영업이익이 크게 반등했습니다. 이는 회사가 자사주 매입을 실시하지 않으면서 현금 보유액이 3,816억 달러라는 사상 최대치를 기록한 데 따른 것입니다. Right, let's talk about Berkshire Hathaway then.
Yes, now you say Berkshire, I say Berkshire.
Oh, is it different? I don't know.
Well-
I've never heard it before, actually. I've seen it's a very, very expensive stock.
But it's also a county in the UK. And in the
I
UK,
see.
even though it's spelled Berkshire, we don't say Berkshire, we say
Really?
Berkshire.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah, so that
I'll
pronunciation.
say it like that then.
Well,
Okay.
that's why I chose to say Berkshire.
Right,
I think
right.
in America they'll say Berkshire.
Warren Buffett is American, so I don't know how he says
Yes,
it.
but I'm proud of Berkshire because my grandmother lived there.
Oh,
So yes.
Wonderful.
In any case, it's doing very, very well.
Yeah.
They had a big jump in profits, 34% year over year when it came to insurance and railroads. That's doing very well. There was a big surge in insurance underwriting income, and so now they have this cash hoard, much bigger than before. The highest ever I think was $347.7 billion.
Yeah.
That was in the first quarter of the year. Now it's up to $381.6 billion. The thing is, we're reaching a turning point when it comes to Berkshire Hathaway because Warren Buffett is getting on in years.
yes.
And he announced in May that he's stepping down. He's 95
I was
years
going
old.
to ask you, how old is he now?
Yeah,
95.
95.
Ah, yeah.
He's been running this company for 6 decades. He's incredible, an incredible business person. His vice chairman, Greg Abel, is going to take over as chief executive. Buffett is going to be on the board, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with the company once Buffett takes a back seat.
Yeah,
Whether
yeah.
there's still that same confidence, whether they're going to go on to hit more record highs, or, well, we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I didn't know that you could use hoard with cash as well. I know you can hoard toilet paper.
Oh,
or, you know, you
sure.
can hoard products, especially during the pandemic.
Yeah,
a lot
but
of people did that.
using it as a noun form, a cash hoard.
A cash hoard. So
Yeah.
that means a lot of cash.
Exactly. You can have a hoard of anything. You have
Yeah.
a game hoard, a mug hoard, a fork hoard, a spoon hoard, whatever you like.
That means you have a lot of those things.
Exactly, that's all it is. So a hoard of anything is possible. The
Interesting.
important thing is it should be valuable, at least to you.
Right. Okay. Now we're talking about Berkshire Hathaway's, of course, value.
Yes.
And it has rebounded.
It has. It's boinged its way back up again. It's got re at the start, and when re is a prefix, it means again.
Yeah.
Like we have restart or re-edit or relearn, whatever it is, it's doing that thing one more time.
Yeah.
So bound, coming from bounce, meaning it's bouncing back. So rebound means it's bouncing again. And in this case, when we use it in terms of finance, in terms of figures, it's bouncing up. So it's gone down and it's bouncing back up again.
Exactly. 그래서 boing 하신 거군요.
Yes.
토끼가 뛰는 모습을 영어로 boing이라고.
솔직히 공처럼
공도 이렇게 통통통통 튈 때 영어로 boing이라고 하는데 일단은 조금 내려갔다가 다시 반등해서 올라오는 이 모습을 bouncing back or rebounding.
Yeah, and if you were in a relationship and things didn't go well and you split up, well, you might be on the rebound, which means you're bouncing back and trying to find your next partner.
Exactly. Now, what's a cash pile?
It's a big pile of cash. It's a big hoard of cash.
Yes,
it's a large amount of money. But when we talk about business and we talk about finance, it's this casual expression to say this company has this money available. It's not tied into anything. So they could use it to buy assets, to buy new companies, to do whatever they want with. It's there to be used.
We have a pile of paper in front of us.
Yes, a paper pile.
A paper pile, yes. A pile of anything. 뭔가 이게 쌓여있다는 뜻인데요. 막대한 현금 보유액을 이렇게 재밌게 표현했네요. Cash pile. 다시 읽어보겠습니다. Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway has reported a sharp rebound in operating profit as its cash pile soared to a record $381.6 billion with no share buybacks.
Daylight saving time in the US has ended for 2025, moving clocks back an hour and increasing the time difference with Korea from 13 to 14 hours under Eastern Standard Time.
올해 미국의 일광 절약 시간제 일명 서머타임이 해제됐습니다. 이에 따라 시간이 1시간 거꾸로 돌아가면서 한국과 미국 간의 시차는 미 동부 시간 기준으로 13시간에서 14시간으로 벌어지게 됐습니다.
Yeah, for those who aren't living there, we sort of forget that there are different times throughout the year.
The UK has this too.
We do. We have GMT and BST, so Greenwich Mean Time, which is what we're on now, and British Summer Time, which is just like the Americans having that daylight saving time.
Yeah.
So it began on March 9th. It'll start again on March 8th next year. So it's every 6 months there's this change. So either clocks go back an hour or go forward an hour.
Right.
It's a relatively new thing. It sort of came in the early 20th century, and the idea was to save energy. The thing is, now you're getting the countries that do have it are saying, why do we still do this?
You know, for years I've read stories about how people are thinking of getting rid of the daylight saving time. Only the issue now is, do we stick to the 1 hour behind or 1 hour, forward? And there's a lot of debate over that.
Well, there are advantages and disadvantages to both, but basically countries who do have daylight saving time are in a bit of a pickle. And countries like us, we don't have to worry, except last week, because British time changed a week before American time.
Yeah.
And last Friday I called my parents, but I forgot that the clock had changed, and so they were still in their pajamas when I called them.
Really? I remember once or twice maybe getting up too early or too late for school. I don't remember exactly if it was early or late, but, sort of midway to school, realizing that the streets were too empty for a school day. And then I looked at the clock. Well, obviously I hadn't changed it. And I thought, it's strange, should be more children around. Why not? And then I discovered, today's the day.
Well, this is the thing. It always happens early Sunday morning. So you do have a day of grace.
And I don't know why I was going
I'm
to
not
school.
sure either. Maybe you were going to a club or something.
Or maybe.
Yes.
Or maybe I missed that Sunday period and I just went on to Monday.
But it's easy to make a mistake. So if you do happen to be travelling to the US, to the UK, to Australia and other places, do check the time.
Yes.
Make sure it's right.
그래요. 자, 미국과 또 많은 유럽 국가에서도 이 daylight saving time을 적용을 합니다. 우리는 이게 없기 때문에 좀 와닿지 않을 수 있는데요. 여름에는 1시간씩 좀 더 이제 정말 말 그대로 daylight를 활용할 수 있게끔 1시간을 늦추는 건가요? 그러겠죠? 그 다음에 이제 겨울에는 좀 이제 빨리 어두워지니까 거기에 맞춰서 시계를 조정하는 겁니다. 결과적으로는 이제 미국 동부 시간 기준으로 우리 한국과의 시차가 13시간이 아니라 지금 이제 14시간이 됐습니다.
네.
표현 볼게요. That's the end of the daylight saving time for 2025.
Yeah, if it's the end for something for a period of time, like for the day, for the week, for the month, for the year, then that means it's over. It's not going to happen again within this period of time.
Yeah.
But it's suggesting that it's a regular thing, that it will be back the following day, week, month, or year.
Yeah. if you say, oh, this was the last performance of the season.
Yeah.
이번 계절에는 이게 마지막 공연이었는데 다음 계절에는 또 할 수도 있는 거겠죠.
Exactly. In about 9:53 or 9:54 or so, you might say, well, that's the end of the show for today.
Oh, okay.
But we'll be back again tomorrow.
That's right. 맞아요. 그래서 and for 2025는 일단 2025년에는 Daylight Saving Time이 끝났습니다. 2026년엔 또 시작이 되겠죠. What about Eastern Standard Time?
Well, this is the time measurement that they use for one particular area on the east coast of the United States.
So New York, Washington.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Washington, D.C.,
right.
not Washington State.
Right. Difference.
Yeah, so there are several time zones in the US, so you do have to be careful because, again, it's all different.
Yeah, California has a different time zone.
So there's something like a 3-hour difference or around about that. So so each country will have what they call their standard time. In the UK, it's GMT, as I mentioned, Greenwich Mean Time, because that's when sort of time was organised by the British many, many years ago.
Exactly. So California's time zone is called the Pacific Standard Time, or the PST, as you said, and it is different to the Eastern Standard Time we're talking about here. And then there's other time zones in between as well. With England, as you said, the most well-known time zone or time standard is the GMT.
Yeah, and
Greenwich Meridian.
And that's where we get all our other time zones from.
Yes,
that was the place. So if you do go to the UK, it's a really interesting spot to go to because you can stand exactly where time is marked.
I've done that.
So have I.
One foot on the left, one foot on the
exactly.
right. 그래요. 이게 근데 스펠링이 GREENWICH여서 그린위치라고 잘못 발음하시는 분들이 계시는데 영국에서는 Greenwich라고 발음해요.
It's like Berkshire.
Oh,
It's the way that we pronounce it a little bit differently
differently
to how you would think.
그래요. 영국엔 그런 게 있고 한국은 KST, Korea Standard Time
Exactly.
쓰죠. 자, 그러면은 미국의 동부 표준시 EST까지 살펴봤고 다시 제가 헤드라인 읽어보겠습니다. Daylight saving time in the US has ended for 2025. Moving clocks back an hour and increasing the time difference with Korea from 13 to 14 hours under Eastern Standard Time. Here's our next headline.
Spain's iconic Sagrada Familia Basilica, which has been under construction since 1882, is now the world's tallest church, rising to nearly 163 meters after a section of its central tower was put in place.
스페인을 상징하는 건축물로 1882년부터 계속 건설 중인 사그라다 파밀리아 성당에 최근 중앙탑의 일부가 설치되면서 전체 높이가 거의 163m에 도달함에 따라 성당이 세계에서 가장 높은 교회 건물로 등극했습니다. So it's been almost 100 years.
It has.
Since this was under construction.
Well, no, it's been longer. It's been
sorry.
1882 was when it was started
100
being
years
constructed.
since Gaudi's death. That's next year, right?
And this is the thing, yes. 1926 was when Gaudi passed away. There was only one tower up at that point. And so they're hoping to get it finished to a certain extent to celebrate the 100 years since Gaudi's death.
Right.
There's going to be a lot of other work to do on the facades, on the interiors, but the main construction should be finished next year. But I have to say, apologies to Münster, which was the world's tallest church at 161.5 meters. Now the Sagrada Familia Basilica has beaten it at 162.91 meters. Like the point in Greenwich, if you haven't been to Barcelona, you have to go and see this cathedral because it is magnificent.
Yeah.
I saw it back in the 80s, late 80s, when it was still under construction, but it was still amazing.
Was it?
Yes.
Is it going to get much taller, I wonder? We'll have to see next year.
Well, I think this is the central tower, so this may be as tall as it gets.
Okay.
But certainly it's a massive cathedral and it's very impressive.
It's very iconic. I think we all know the image of it, even if we haven't been.
Yes.
All right, let's have a look at to be under construction.
Yes, if something is under construction, it's being built or it's being rebuilt. So it may be being repaired or refurnished, or it may be being built from scratch.
Yeah, you might find signs on the road in a little triangle shape, and then it says under construction.
Or it says construction ahead.
construction ahead도 있을 수 있는데요. 이제 그런 사인포스트에 보면은 이제 공사 중 아니면은 이제 공사 현장이 앞에 있다. 라는 걸 알려주는 그런 사인들 있죠.
And if you're in an office and something is broken and it's getting fixed, there may be a sign saying under repair.
So under in this case means it's happening.
Exactly,
It's
it's
not
going
literally
on.
under.
No.
뭔가 일어나고 있다는 뜻의 under입니다. Under construction, 공사 중이다. And to put something in place?
It means you put it where it's supposed to go. You lay it down, you fix it in.
Yeah.
Depending on what it is. It may need glue, hammers, nails, or something else.
그래요. 이게 이제 설치하다라는 의미로 여기서 쓰였고 또 제자리에 놓다라는 의미로 쓰기도 해요.
Yeah, but be careful when you use it for people because when you put someone in their place, that means you tell them off.
Yeah, that's a different, almost sort of condescending way of talking to someone, right?
Well, if they've done something bad, a parent may put their child in their place,
well, in that
scolding
case,
them.
That's that's understandable. All right.
Or I could put you in your place if you like.
Well, no, please. No, please. All right. Don't know what I'm saying.
This is terrible, Sue. How dare you?
You got to put me in my place. I'm going to read this one more time. Spain's iconic Sagrada Familia Basilica, which has been under construction since 1882, is now the world's tallest church, rising to nearly 163 meters after a section of its central tower was put in place. Now here's our final headline.
Several renowned destinations across Asia are reaching a tourism glass ceiling that's impacting the quality of life for local residents while destroying the iconic spots that draw people in the first place, according to a report by CNN.
아시아의 몇몇 유명 관광지가 과잉 관광 위험 수준까지 도달했으며 그로 인해 현지 주민들의 삶의 질이 저하되고 애초 이들 관광객을 불러들인 명소들마저 훼손되는 결과를 낳고 있다고 CNN이 보도했습니다. All right, so tell us more.
Well, I think every country in Asia is very welcoming of tourists. The problem is that they're all going to the same spots. And so you have this issue of over-tourism, of too many people going to the same spot at the same time.
Right.
I mean, here in Korea, here in Seoul in particular, I think Bukchon Hanok Village is a great example. Over the past decade or so, we've seen various first signs were put in, and then actually police were sometimes sort of located there to help people be quiet, and now there's special regulations because there are so many tourists there and they far exceed the number of residents, and there were all sorts of issues. There were noise issues, there were littering issues, there were sometimes people trying to go into private residences to see what it was like. And so this article on CNN is looking at this issue, not just here in Korea, but all over Asia, and how to manage it, because it's difficult to do that. You want people to come, but at the same time, you want the people who live in this area to have a decent life as well.
Yeah, it's a tricky balancing act that we need to see happen there. It's interesting that they called this a tourism glass ceiling that's almost been broken.
Yeah, and we use this term glass ceiling. I think it was probably first used when talking about women in the workplace.
Yes.
This is back in maybe the 80s or the late 70s. And the idea that there was this invisible barrier that women would get so far up the chain of command and then they couldn't go any further, even though they were qualified, even though they could do the job, even though they wanted to do the job. So this idea of a glass ceiling is you can see above you, you can see where you want to go, but you're being stopped. And so the same way with tourism. The country wants more tourism, but if the residents of the area are complaining and there's problems with noise and littering and other things, then they can't go further, even though they feel like they should be able to.
Exactly. 유리천장, glass ceiling이라는 것이 이제 원래는 여성이라든지 다른 집단이 일정 위치 이상 올라가지 못하는 어떤 보이지 않는 한계, 기준, 제한, 장벽 이런 것들이 있다는 의미로 많이 쓰잖아요. 근데 여기서는 이제 관광에 비유를 하고 있는데 관광도 이런 정도 선은 좀 넘지 말았으면 좋겠는데 그거를 거의 좀 말락하는 over tourism의 문제가 있다라는 장벽의 문제로 그런 이제 비유적인 표현으로 쓴 것 같아요.
Yeah, and we use glass ceiling for all sorts of things nowadays.
그쵸?
It used to be only for women, but we can use it when talking about minorities or people with disabilities or all sorts of different issues where there is some kind of block when it comes to advancement.
그래요. 그러니까 관광에서는 그 장벽보다는 한계라고 아니면은 뭐 이런 기준치라고 봐야 되겠네요. 여기 살고 있는 일반 시민들 같은 경우에는 이제 너무 관광객이 많아졌다. 그래서 문제가 생긴다라고 하는 그런 glass ceiling을 체감하고 있는 거죠.
Yeah, so even though the government may want more tourism, it's just not possible.
Right. What about in the first place?
From the beginning, Sue. From the start. When we use this term, we're saying, well, we had this information, or this was the case at the beginning, or at the start of something.
원래 처음부터
네.
이런 뜻이 되겠군요. So iconic spots that draw people in the first place. 처음부터 이제 사람들을 끌어들이는 그런 이제 유명 관광지들 그게 지금은 overpopulated or over-tourism 문제를 겪고 있다.
Yeah, so we often use it when we're talking about an issue. Where this was what it was originally, but because of this, things are changing or things are causing problems.
Okay, well, here's the headline again. Several renowned destinations across Asia are reaching a tourism glass ceiling that's impacting the quality of life for local residents while destroying the iconic spots that draw people in the first place, according to a report by CNN. And that's it for the headlines with Paul Matthews.
A mosquito species that is typically found in tropical or subtropical regions of the world has been detected for the first time in Korea in several regions of Jeju Island.
세계적으로 열대 및 아열대 지역에 주로 서식하는 모기종인 열대집 모기가 국내에서는 처음으로 제주도 내 여러 지점에서 발견됐습니다. Well, the mosquitoes were very late in coming this year, but
Yeah.
now in Jeju, what's going on?
Well, I think this is only natural, or it's only natural because we have been seeing sort of tropical weather in
Yeah.
Korea. And, you know, I think we talked about this last week where they found mosquitoes in Iceland, which is a country
They never had mosquitoes
has
before.
never
Yeah.
seen mosquitoes before. So
Sure.
they're moving up, I guess.
Right.
They're moving north.
Right.
So this the species, they're known commonly as the southern house mosquito, and they've been recently found on Korea's southernmost island of Jeju with samples collected back in August.
Right.
And
It's not right now, but
Yes.
we are talking about the data now.
That's right.
It's just a few months ago.
because they have to, they have to collect them, they have to
Yeah.
conduct research, they have to find out
analyze
what
it.
species they actually are.
Sure.
So they have been listed as a Korea dwelling species in a 1956 research paper, but it's actually the first time that the presence of the southern house mosquito has actually been confirmed. So the KDCA said the mosquito was found in several regions of Jeju, suggesting that they weren't just there. It wasn't a fluke. They were there. They've established a viable habitat. They still don't know how it exactly got there, and it's kind of concerning because the southern house mosquito is a vector of several human-affecting diseases like the West Nile virus. However, the West Nile virus is already carried by other mosquitoes living here, so they do say that no infections have been reported on Korean territory.
네, 감염 사례는 없지만 국내에서 처음으로 이렇게 제주도 내 여러 곳에서 열대집 모기라는 모기종이 발견이 됐습니다. 그래서 이게 지금 여기서 많은 지점에서 발견됐다는 것이 굉장히 주목할 만한 점이고요.
Yeah.
만약에 뭐 한 곳에서만 발견됐으면은 일시적인 현상일 수도 있지만 아마 확실히 서식하고 있는 것으로
Yes.
그렇게 좀 보여져요. And let's have a look at typically.
Typically, right. So typically, it means in most cases. We can use this instead of usually, maybe.
Yeah, typically. 보통 뭐뭐 한다라고 할 때. So in the morning, I think a lot of employees will typically grab their coffee.
Yeah.
And then take the subway
Typically take the subway
and go to work.
and get to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
typically는 보통은 뭐뭐 한다. 매일은 아닐 수 있지만 뭐 그런 것들이요.
Most of the time, right?
You wouldn't say the sun typically rises in the east because
No.
it always rises in
It
the
always,
east.
right?
그때는 typically가 아니라 그냥 always.
Yeah.
All right. What about detect?
Detect. So when you detect something, it means you notice something that might be partially hidden or not clear.
To detect. 감지하다, 탐지하다라는 뜻이 될 수도 있겠죠. 그래서 발견하다라는 의미로 씁니다.
Yep.
To detect. Like a detective.
Yeah.
탐정이죠.
Yeah, so in that case, it might be discovering something. Maybe when you're using some sort of special method to do so, you can use the word detect.
Like a metal detector.
Yeah.
People in England, they seem to have metal detectors lying around, just looking for coins that are thousands of years old. And sometimes they find it.
It's an island, so I mean, if you go around the beaches, I'm sure you could find a lot of
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly. 그래요. 자, 다시 한번 읽어보겠습니다. A mosquito species that is typically found in tropical or subtropical regions of the world has been detected for the first time in Korea in several regions of Jeju Island. Let's move on to the next headline.
Exports of Korean dried seaweed or kim are expected to exceed $1 billion for the first time this year, with shipments in the first 3 quarters alone already totaling more than $800 million, according to the Korea Agro-Fisheries and Food Trade Corporation.
올해 1월부터 9월까지 국산 김 수출액이 8억 달러를 넘어서면서 올해 처음으로 10억 달러를 넘어설 것으로 전망된다고 한국농수산식품유통공사가 발표했습니다.
Yeah.
So the same time last year, the sales of kim was around $700 million, but this time around we're looking at $800 million already.
It's gone up even further, right? So the nation is on track to surpass $1 billion in dried seaweed or kim exports this year. So that will set a new record.
Yeah, it's never been seen before.
Yeah, it's going up, up, up. And so they say
it
that
golden?
It is golden. Although not in color, it's black. So exports reached $882.33 million in the first 3 quarters of 2025, and that's up 14% from last year. And of course, it's driven by the popularity of K-pop, K-food, and dishes like kimbap. You need kim to make kimbap. And I think we've talked about how popular those frozen kimbaps are abroad. So they do say that Japan remains the top importer, and it's followed by the US, China, Thailand, and they say exports to China rose a whopping 41.4% year on year. Last year's shipments totaled 997 million, just shy of the ministry's original 2027 target. So they are they're on target for even 2027's target. So they're doing pretty well. And the government plans to promote K-gim as a global brand, standardizing the product under its Korean name to expand into regulated markets like Europe. So I guess that's the next frontier. And potential U.S. tariffs of up to 15% could slightly affect consumption, but overall export growth is expected to continue.
That's what I love the most. You just mentioned there that we're trying to push for the name kim to be used as opposed to dried seaweed or the Japanese version of nori, which is also used in English-speaking countries.
It's very different.
But of course, yes. But now that Korea's popularity is growing and K-food and K-culture is so well, loved around the world, the next push is to get everyone in the world to call this kim, so that we don't have to say this is dried seaweed. This is we don't even have to explain it anymore. It's just going to be kim, and everyone will know what it is.
I have mixed thoughts about adding the K in front, though.
K-kim. Kim is already Korean, so
exactly.
But nonetheless, 그래요. 이제 김 수출액이 상당히 많이 늘고 있고요. 지금 이대로라면은 연말까지 10억 달러 수출액 달성 수월해 보입니다. 한번 볼까요, 표현? To exceed a number.
Yeah, exceed. It means to go above or to surpass. So to be greater in number or size than some sort of quantity, number, or other measurable thing.
Right. 넘는 거예요. 초과하다. To exceed. So if you have some expectations and then someone does better than that, they exceed your expectations.
You always love that, right?
Yeah, that's the best.
It's a good feeling.
I hope all of our test takers next week, they exceed their expectations when it comes to the exam results.
Yes.
What about in the first 3 quarters alone?
Right. So when you say something alone, that means exclusively or only. So when you say in the first 3 quarters alone, that means only during the first 3 quarters or the first 9 months of the year.
그러니까 지금 1년이 다 지나지는 않았는데요. 3분기까지의 실적만 봐도 벌써 너무나 김 수출이 많이 잘 되고 있다는 모습이에요. So in the first 3 quarters alone, already we're seeing sales over what was it? $800 million. Yeah. All right. 다시 읽어보겠습니다. Exports of Korean dried seaweed or kim are expected to exceed $1 billion for the first time this year, with shipments in the first 3 quarters alone already totaling more than $800 million, according to the Korea Agro-Fisheries and Food Trade Corporation.
Researchers have used AI to create a disturbing preview of what the average inactive person might look like by 2050, marked by eye strain and redness, a dull complexion, poor posture, and other effects of a sedentary lifestyle.
활동이 부족한 현대인이 현재의 생활 습관을 유지할 경우 2050년에 어떤 모습일지를 인공지능을 통해 예측했더니 눈의 피로 및 충혈, 어두운 안색, 나쁜 자세 등 좌식 생활로 인한 여러 가지 부작용에 시달리는 우려스러운 예상도가 나왔습니다.
Yep.
I've seen the picture.
Yeah.
It looks a bit like Gollum
Yeah.
in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
약간 이런 모습. 그렇게 되면 안 되는데 그렇게 될 수 있다고 하니까 무섭네요.
Yeah, 2050, it's not that far away, right?
No. Sit up straight, everyone.
Yes, sit up straight. Get up
straight.
every
Look up.
30 minutes or
Yeah.
so. Get some sun. Go
Yes.
outside. If you don't want to become Sam. They're calling him Sam.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's a digital projection, and it's to kind of give off a message about the long-term effects of sedentary lifestyles. Basically, if you're just sitting all the time, lying around all the time,
Yeah.
not moving around, and that poses risks like premature aging, varicose veins, the tech neck.
Yes.
We call it
거북목이라고 하는데 영어로는 tech neck.
Yes.
기술, 그러니까 스마트폰 보느라 이렇게 고개 숙이는 거라서 tech neck.
Exactly. Poor posture. I'm sitting up straight.
Me too.
And overall physical decline.
제작진도 갑자기 다들 이렇게 자세를 반듯하게 잡고 있는 것 같아요.
Okay, everyone just sit up straight.
여러분도 지금 하세요. 지금
Yeah,
바로
pull
자세.
your shoulders back and push your chin out a little bit. So this project, it comes as global inactivity remains high. It's not just us, it's everyone around the world with, I guess, technology. They say 31% of adults and 80% of adolescents. This is really concerning.
80%.
Not 18, 80% of adolescents are not meeting recommended physical activity levels. What are they doing at school?
청소년의 한 80%가 권장량보다 지금 움직임을 하지 않고 있다고 하니까 너무 우려스럽네요.
This is very concerning. Yeah. So, I mean, I do understand they have a lot to study, but the physical activity levels, this is very concerning.
왜냐면은 이제 프리 타임에 핸드폰을 많이 보니까 예전에는 이런 게 없었을 땐 나가서 뛰고 특히 남학생들은 뭐 농구를 한다든지
Yeah.
축구를 한다든지
Yeah.
여학생들도 뭐 어느 정도는
Play
조금
outside
나가서
in
농구
the playground.
그걸 좀 더 많이 해야 될 텐데.
Yeah. And it also affects their social life as well. I think we've talked about that before.
Yes.
Yes, but they say that the lack of exercise, it's linked to a lot of different issues like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, cancer, depression, and cognitive decline in adults, while in children, it can hinder bone, muscle, and motor development. So how they created Sam, they say he was modeled using data from daily walking habits in 30 countries combined with research on the health and appearance impacts of inactivity and excessive screen time. And the WHO is trying to reduce global physical inactivity by 10% by 2025 and 15% by 2030, warning that failure to do so could cost public health systems around $300 billion between 2020 and 2030.
I'm sorry to anyone whose real name is Sam, but the scientists have nicknamed this, person that they've created with AI, and this is a person in 2050 that we might look like if we don't change our lifestyles right now. Let's not become like that.
Yeah.
A sort of hunched back, guy
Red
with
eyes.
red bloodshot eyes and your neck going down. We don't want to be that person. Right. So this is very disturbing.
It is disturbing, right? When something is disturbing, it means it's worrying or it's causing anxiety.
Right. If something is disturbing, 이거는요, 굉장히 내 마음을 불편하게 하고 불안하게 한다는 의미가 있습니다. 그래서 이 이미지를 봤을 때 뭐야 하는 그런 느낌. It's a very disturbing image.
Yeah. Or something that's very like when you watch a scary movie, you could say that that movie was really disturbing.
좀 약간 충격적인
Yes.
것도 그럴 때도 it's very disturbing 이렇게 얘기할 수 있어요. So not to be confused with 방해하다 is a little bit different.
Yeah.
In this case, we're talking about 내 마음이 심기가 많이 불편해요.
Yes.
그런 거. What's a sedentary lifestyle?
Sedentary lifestyle is when you are like a rock. You don't move. So it's a lifestyle where you are just sitting a lot or lying a lot and you don't have a lot of physical activity.
Being like a couch potato.
Exactly.
sedentary lifestyle이라는 것이 활동을 거의 하지 않는 가만히 있는 생활 습관이에요. 그래서 이거를 이제 우리말로 좌식 생활 습관이라고 하긴 했지만 그렇다고 바닥에 앉는 그걸 말하는 게 아니라 그냥 가만히 있는 걸 말하는 겁니다. 움직임이 별로 없는
Yes.
couch potato 같은 라이프스타일이에요. 다시 한번 읽어보겠습니다. Researchers have used AI to create a disturbing preview of what the average inactive person might look like by 2050, marked by eye strain and redness, dull complexion, poor posture, and other effects of a sedentary lifestyle. Let's move on. This is our next headline.
At least 20 people have died and hundreds have been injured after a magnitude 6.3 earthquake struck northern Afghanistan, according to local authorities, with the toll expected to rise as rescue efforts continue.
아프가니스탄 북부 지역에 규모 6.3의 지진이 발생해 최소 20명이 숨지고 수백 명이 다쳤다고 현지 당국이 발표했습니다. 현재 구조 작업이 진행되면서 이 숫자는 앞으로 더 늘어날 것으로 보입니다. Tell us more.
So this earthquake, it struck near Mazar-e-Sharif, one of the country's largest cities that's home to about 500,000 people. It had a magnitude of 6.3 and a depth of 28 kilometers. This is according to the U.S. Geological Survey, and was marked at the orange alert level, which indicates significant casualties are likely. The quake led to a power outage across the country, including the capital city, Kabul, after electricity lines from Uzbekistan and Tajikistan, major suppliers of power to Afghanistan, were damaged.
Right.
They say the quake comes after a 6.0 magnitude earthquake struck Afghanistan's mountainous eastern regions in late August, killing more than 1,100 people. And the region is prone to earthquakes because of its location on top of a number of fault lines where the Indian and Eurasian tectonic plates meet.
Well, as you said, there's lots of casualties being reported.
Yeah.
In one word, it also describes that as a toll.
Right. So when you hear toll, you might think like the fees that you pay when you go through the highway.
The toll gate.
Yes.
Yeah.
But in this case, we're talking about the number of deaths, casualties, or injuries arising from a particular circumstance, such as a natural disaster. It could be war, a conflict, or accident.
그렇죠. 사망자와 부상자 수, 사상자 수를 toll이라고 부를 수 있습니다. T-O-L-L. 그래서 우리가 톨게이트 할 때랑 스펠링은 똑같지만 여기서는 의미가 좀 다르고요. 그때 톨게이트에서 톨은 요금이라는 의미로 조금 다른 뜻이 있죠. What about expected to rise?
Right. When something is expected to rise, it's likely to go up. So when something is likely to increase in amount, level, or popularity, we say that it is expected to rise.
뭐뭐 할 것으로 예상된다. Expected to do something. rise는 올라가는 거니까요. 안타깝게도 이 사상자 수가 오를 것으로 지금 전망이 됩니다.
Yeah.
다시 읽어볼게요. At least 20 people have died and hundreds have been injured after a magnitude 6.3 earthquake struck northern Afghanistan, according to local authorities, with the toll expected to rise as rescue efforts continue. Here's our next headline.
Eating cheese at least once a week may be linked to a lower risk of developing dementia, according to a recent Japanese study that analyzed data from around 8,000 people to see how cheese consumption might influence cognitive health in older adults.
약 8,000명의 데이터를 분석해 치즈 소비 습관이 노인의 인지 건강에 미치는 영향을 알아본 최근 일본 연구에 따르면 주 1회 이상 치즈를 섭취하는 것이 치매 발병 위험 감소와 연관성이 있을 수 있다는 결과가 나왔습니다. Of course, this doesn't mean that there's a cause and effect with cheese and, having better cognitive abilities, but there could be a link.
Yeah.
Tell us more.
I mean, for cheese lovers, this is great news.
This is very good news, yeah.
Right.
Do you like cheese, Karen?
I love cheese.
Me too.
I love cheese. But I don't think they're talking about like the processed cheese.
Okay.
They're probably talking about the natural cheeses. But so they're saying that that eating cheese at least once a week might be linked to lower risk of developing dementia in older adults. So they tracked around 8,000 people aged 65 and older and found that regular cheese eaters were 24% less likely to develop dementia over 3 years compared with non-cheese eaters. And by the study's end, 3.4% of cheese consumers had been diagnosed with dementia versus 4.45% of non-consumers. So experts are saying...
Not a huge difference, but there is a difference.
Yeah. It's. I think it's significant enough to write a paper on.
Yes. Sure.
So experts say cheese may support brain health through proteins, essential amino acids, and fat-soluble vitamins like K2, which benefit vascular health, as well as through effects on inflammation and the gut-brain axis. So fermented dairy products may also lower risks of cardiovascular and metabolic diseases. They're also known contributors to cognitive decline. And researchers do caution, however, that the study is observational and cannot prove that cheese directly prevents dementia.
Right. 자, 그래요. 그래서 65세 이상 8,000명 정도를 대상으로 추적 관찰을 해본 결과 3년 동안 추적 관찰을 했습니다. 그래서 정기적으로 치즈를 많이 드시는 분들과 그렇지 않은 분들이 이제 치매 발병률이 좀 차이가 있었어요. 치즈를 자주 드시는 분이 안 드시는 분에 비해서 치매 발병률이 24% 낮았습니다. 그래서 연관성은 있을 수 있다. 이렇게 얘기를 하지만 그렇다고 해서 치즈를 먹으면 치매를 예방할 수 있다. 이거는 이렇게 말하기는 좀 어렵고요. Just a link.
Yes.
이렇게는 말할 수 있습니다. 그러니까 cause and effect까지는 아니어도 유의미한 것 같아요. 자, to be linked to something.
Right. So if you are, or if something is linked to something, it means there's a connection. So you are making or forming or suggesting some sort of connection with or between two different things.
Yeah, exactly. To be linked. 연결되어 있다, 연관되어 있다. And what's cognitive health?
Cognitive health. When we're talking about the brain, we use this word a lot. So it's the ability to think, learn, and remember clearly, which of course is a key part of overall brain health. So when we talk about cognitive health, it sort of encompasses the mental processes like attention, memory, and decision making. So these processes are essential for performing daily activities. They help you maintain your independence and live a good quality of life.
Exactly. This may seem like a difficult word, but it's a useful one to know. 인지의 뜻을 가지고 있는 cognitive. 그래서 인지 건강, cognitive health. So that's to do with dementia. 우리가 지금 치매 얘기를 하고 있는 거니까요. This is just another way of talking about how well aware you are of things. 다시 읽어보겠습니다. Eating cheese at least once a week may be linked to a lower risk to a lower risk of developing dementia, according to a recent Japanese study that analyzed data from around 8,000 people to see how cheese consumption might influence cognitive health in older adults. Right, well, that's it for the headlines.
The number of Koreans who remained economically inactive rose by 9,000 from a year earlier as of the end of August, amid a steady increase in people citing no particular reason for not working, according to government data.
정부 통계에 따르면 특별한 이유 없이 그냥 쉰다고 답한 국내 인구가 꾸준히 늘고 있는 가운데 올해 8월 기준 비경제활동 인구가 전년 동월 대비 9,000명 증가한 것으로 나타났습니다. Tell us more.
Yeah, so a total of 16.22 million individuals had remained economically inactive as of the end of August. That's up 9,000 from a year earlier. I was shocked to see that many people are actually inactive, not earning financial income. But I guess, people are resting. Among them, 2.64 million people said that they were, resting, meaning that they were not seeking employment for no specific reason, up 73,000 from a year earlier.
Wow. For no specific reason. 특별한 이유 없이라는 뜻이 되겠죠. Let's have a look at that expression first of all then. No particular reason for something.
Yeah, if you have no particular reason for something, then it's like, I don't know. It's not a specific reason because of this or because of that. There's not any one thing.
Yeah.
It could be a few different things, or it could just be like, no, I just don't have a reason. I just don't want to do it. Yeah, just because. I mean, there's no reason why. Not really something you've put any thought into.
Exactly. The word particular in Korea we would say 특별한 in this case. 그래서 이유 없이가 아니라 특별한 이유 없이, 별다른 이유 없이. For no particular reason. What's a steady increase?
A steady increase is one that goes up at a slight increase each time. Rather than think of a roller coaster where it goes up and down or slow and fast. It's not like that.
Right.
It just kind of goes on a steady, even plane that remains the same. So if you think of something that's steady, it's sort of like it's not deviating much or not changing much. Sometimes if you're on a ladder, then you might have somebody that holds the ladder to stay steady so that it won't move or shake or, certainly so that you don't fall. But you want to hold it steady, meaning that you don't want it to move. And in the same sort of way, if an increase is steady, then it's going at an even pace. The pace in which it's going is kind of a straight line. It's not like a roller coaster where it curves up and down.
그러니까 흔들림이 별로 없는 거네요. Steady.
Yeah, exactly.
꾸준히 지속적으로 무언가가 이어지는 모습. Slow and steady wins the race. 자, 그러면은 다시 한번 첫 번째 헤드라인 읽어보겠습니다. The number of Koreans who remained economically inactive rose by 9,000 from a year earlier as of the end of August, amid a steady increase in people citing no particular reason for not working, according to government data. Let's move on to the second headline.
The Korea Meteorological Administration has announced that starting next month, it will implement a new earthquake alert system that differentiates between emergency disaster alerts and safety guidelines based on the perceived earthquake intensity in each region.
기상청은 다음 달부터 지역별 지진 체감 정도에 따라 긴급 재난 문자와 안전 안내 문자를 구분해 발송하는 새로운 지진 재난 문자 체계를 시행한다고 발표했습니다. We've received a lot of these.
Yes.
And so we all know what these are, but how are they going to be differentiated in the future?
So they will be differentiated based on the level of the earthquake, how big it is. Under the scale, level 2 is barely perceptible, meaning you're not really going to even feel the earthquake. Level 3 is felt by most people that are indoors, while level 4 can actually wake you up, perhaps. Level 5 may cause minor damage or maybe even tip over some items on a table that are standing tall. So these are kind of the different levels that they're measuring it by. And based on that, it'll be either an emergency or just might be an inconvenience.
I guess up till now what happened was that if there was, say, an earthquake, then all regions in the country would get the alert.
Yeah.
Even if you were, miles and miles away and you couldn't feel a thing. And now they're going to change that. So the people who are actually affected or nearby, they'll get the loud alerts. And then, the further away, maybe the more quieter, or you might not get an alert, depending on where you are. 자, 그러면은 여기서 나오는 표현이요. differentiate인데요. This is a long verb.
Yeah, and when something is differentiated, then you're seeing basically the difference, right? You're splitting it up into at least two different things. And because they are different, you're going to be allowed to see what the difference is, what sets it apart, or what makes it different from each other or from other things.
differentiate입니다. 근데 이거를 좀 빨리 발음하면 differentiate가 되고요. 스펠링 알려주시겠어요?
differentiates.
That's a long
Yeah,
word.
can be.
그래요. 그래서 앞으로는 이제 진동이 없는 지역에는 경보음이 뜨고, 그다음에 각 지역의 그 체감 진동에 맞게 문자가 발송이 될 것입니다. So those texts will be based on what you feel, or how our bodies perceive it, or whatever region it is.
Yeah.
Based on. Let's have a look at that. Yeah.
Yeah, if it's based on something, then it's sort of what it's about or what the foundation of something is, why it's being talked about in that manner. So, like something is maybe based on a true story is something that we'll hear a lot, meaning that, well, this happened in real life to a certain degree. It's based on the real events of this, meaning that, not everything might be true, but the premise of the story is true.
무엇에 근거한다. 그래서 실화를 바탕으로 한 영화. This movie is based on a true story. 이런 식으로 말할 수 있는데요. In this case, the alerts will be based on the perceived earthquake intensity. 자, 그럼 다시 한번 제가 읽어보겠습니다. The KMA, or the Korean Meteorological Administration, has announced that starting next month, it will implement a new earthquake alert system that differentiates between emergency disaster alerts and safety guidelines based on the perceived earthquake intensity in each region.
Lawmakers in Taiwan are debating proposed amendments to the Meteorological Act that would classify high temperatures as hazardous weather, allowing work and school to be suspended during extremely hot days.
대만에서 앞으로 비정상적 고온을 재해성 날씨에 포함시켜 폭염 시 직장 및 학교에서 폭염 휴무를 실시할 수 있도록 하는 기상법 개정안이 입법위원들에 의해 심사 중인 것으로 알려졌습니다. Tell us more.
So whether, the climate is generally speaking known to be going up because of climate change, and they're now saying that as temperatures increase, especially in summertime, that it can be more dangerous, certainly for the younger and elderly. So they're trying to change the classifications for whether to allow for people to miss out on work or school, perhaps, when the weather gets much hotter. And they're continuing to, they're trying to plan it to be that a yellow alert would be for days that are 36 degrees Celsius. Orange alerts would be 37 degrees Celsius, and red alerts would be 38 degrees Celsius.
Wow. They all sound
Hot.
and unbearable. Yeah, but it says these temperatures are going to be classified as hazardous.
Yeah.
Let's look at those two terms.
Yeah, first off, when you're classifying something, then you're sort of grouping things into different groups. Literally, you're saying, okay, well, we'll put this into the hazardous group. This will be in the safe group. This will be, like yellow alert group, orange alert group, and red group. You're classifying them into different groups. And something that is hazardous is essentially dangerous. It's not safe.
To be classified, 분류하다, 분류되다 as hazardous, 위험한 것으로. 그러니까 너무 날씨가 더우면은요, 그냥 더운 정도가 아니라 위험하다, 재해 수준이다. 이렇게 분류를 해서 그럴 때는 학교도 직장도 쉴 수 있도록 앞으로 조치를 취하겠다라는 대만의 조치입니다.
We do hear the word that's classified information sometimes. That meaning that it's secret or it's sealed or it's not available to the public. You could say that it's classified, meaning that it's in a different group of being secret or, unavailable to the public. So sort of similar, I guess, but it is used differently.
그렇죠. 기밀이라는 뜻으로도 classified를 쓰죠. 자, 다시 한번 헤드라인 읽어보겠습니다. Lawmakers in Taiwan are debating proposed amendments to the Meteorological Act that would classify high temperatures as hazardous weather, allowing work and school to be suspended during extremely hot days. Let's move on to the next headline.
A new quiet supersonic jet built for NASA and designed to break the sound barrier while reducing the sonic boom to a thump has successfully completed its first test flight, paving the way for a potential breakthrough in commercial air travel.
초음속 비행에서 발생하는 폭발음인 소닉붐을 훨씬 줄이면서 음속보다 빠르게 비행할 수 있도록 설계된 미국 항공우주국 나사의 저소음 초음속 항공기 X-59가 이번에 첫 시험 비행을 성공적으로 마치면서 상업 항공업계에 돌파구가 마련될 가능성이 높아졌습니다. What does this mean for us, I wonder?
Well, it means that we might be able to travel faster to places. So a flight that might have taken that might take 5 hours now, you might be able to do it in under 3 in the future because typically airlines, I think they travel at around 600, 700 kilometers per hour. But they're saying that this new plane could travel at Mach 1.4, which would be approximately 1,400 kilometers per hour, which is the speed of sound is usually around 1,000 kilometers. So to break the sound barrier by one and a half times, essentially, you're going about twice as fast as commercial flights travel now.
I'm surprised that they are actually trying to make this very, very fast plane commercial because I would imagine your ears would pop and it would be a little bit painful for the average person. But I guess not. That's what they've been working on.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. If you're in the plane, I don't know if you get the boom as I guess you probably would. Yeah, because it creates a really loud sound, which is why they've kind of banned the travel in the past. So there used to be a supersonic plane called the Concorde that traveled mostly between England and New York, perhaps from Paris as well. But the reason that was shut down for the most part was because of the noise that it created once it crossed the Atlantic Ocean. So now they're saying that perhaps if this new version of the supersonic jet can do the same speed without being as loud, then it could change commercial flights in the future.
Exactly. The word sonic has to do with the speed of sound.
Yes.
So supersonic is faster than that.
Faster than the speed of sound. Which is what creates the boom. Yeah.
All right. Let's have a look at breaking the sound barrier.
Breaking the sound barrier, meaning that you're going faster than the speed of sound. And if you go faster than the speed of sound, then there's like a line in which the boom is created. So consider that sort of like a barrier or a line that you're going faster than. So if you go faster than it, well, you're breaking the sound barrier.
그래요. 음속을 돌파한다라는 의미가 되겠죠. So breaking anything, 뭐 이렇게 부수다 이런 뜻이 있을 텐데요. 기록을 깨다 할 때도 break a record 이렇게 표현을 하고요.
Yeah, and if, like a barrier is sort of like a wall or something that prevents you from getting to the other side. So by breaking that barrier, you're crossing over like that line, basically.
And here's another word with break in it, breakthrough.
Yeah, breakthrough. A breakthrough is something where maybe something has been blocking you or preventing you from moving further in something. And if you break through it, then you have progressed past it. And we often talk about breakthroughs maybe when you're kind of stalled in something. You're trying to achieve something, but for whatever reason, you aren't able to make progress. So when you break through that moment or you're able to progress past this thing that's been preventing you, then we consider that a breakthrough.
A breakthrough.
So, they couldn't break the sound barrier without being quiet. But perhaps now that might be possible. That's a breakthrough.
획기적인 발전이 될 수도 있지만 또 돌파구라고도 하죠. A breakthrough, one word. Here's the headline again. A new quiet supersonic jet built for NASA and designed to break the sound barrier while reducing the sonic boom to a thump has successfully completed its first test flight, paving the way for a potential breakthrough in commercial air travel. Let's move on to the final headline.
Former England captain David Beckham has been formally knighted by King Charles for his services to sport and British society during an investiture ceremony that honors individuals for their outstanding contributions to the community.
잉글랜드 국가대표팀 주장을 지낸 축구선수 데이비드 베컴이 지역사회에 탁월한 공헌을 한 사람들을 대상으로 열린 기사 자기 수여식에서 스포츠 및 영국 사회에 기여한 공로를 인정받아 찰스 3세 국왕으로부터 기사 자귀를 받았습니다. We probably should have added the word football in there in the English headlines, but we all know who David Beckham is.
Yes.
And he is now Sir David Beckham.
Sir David Beckham.
Yes.
Yeah, obviously in England, they knight people that, for the most part, represent the country well, basically make England look good. And certainly he's done that in England quite a bit, but also, you know, he's lived in North America for a considerable amount of time as well. And through that time, I think it's safe to say that he's been a very good ambassador of the country while living, I think, in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I mean, through and through, he's always had a very good reputation.
Yes.
I mean, I would even say that his reputation as a human being almost exceeds that of how great he was as a football star. And he was a great football star.
Yeah.
But just, you know, he's always been a very good, philanthropic person, kind. And I think all of that has been put into consideration here. What was very interesting was that when David Beckham was knighted, there's like a small orchestra in the background, and this British orchestra in front of the king and all the people there, they start playing Golden from K-pop Demon Hunters.
That is crazy. But
Amazing,
at the
right?
same time, almost modernly appropriate.
Yes.
Because a song about, you know, greatness and becoming great and stuff. So at the same time, you know, the meaning behind it in a modern way. And it was interesting to hear it through an orchestra, in that style of an orchestra.
Yeah, the strings.
Yeah.
맞아요.
Very elegant.
기사 자기를 받고 있는 그 순간 이제 찰스 3세 왕이 이렇게 기사 자기를 주잖아요. 그래서 그런데 뒤에 관현악단이 갑자기 캐데헌의 골든을 연주하기 시작하는 거예요. 그래서 아까 따로 한 번 더 우리 제이슨 선생님한테도 제가 들려드렸는데 너무 깜짝 놀랐어요. 반갑기도 했고 그래서 up 이 음이 확실하게 들리더라고요.
Very distinct.
그렇습니다. 그래서 이제는 데이비드 베컴 경, Sir David Beckham이 됐어요. Let's have a look at this expression here. Investiture ceremony.
An investiture ceremony is a ceremony in which you are honoring a person for an achievement of some sort. And I can honestly say it's not used very often. It's a formal term. So investiture ceremony, you could say an honorary ceremony as well, or a ceremony to honor so-and-so is probably what you would hear more casually.
수여식이라는 뜻이에요. Investiture ceremony. And what about someone's contribution?
A contribution is something that you give or have perhaps accomplished throughout your life. So if you contribute to something, well, it's your part. You've done something for this organization, whether it's something that you give like money, or it could be your time or actions or things that have helped a cause.
그래요. 공헌, 기여, contribution.
Usually, if you're doing like a project together with friends or in a school project or perhaps at work, then you want to each contribute equally, ideally. You want to give, equal amounts. You don't want one person doing all the work and then the other people not contributing at all.
We should all contribute together.
Yes.
All right, here's the headline again. Former England captain Former England football captain David Beckham has been formally knighted by King Charles for his services to sport and British society during an investiture ceremony that honours individuals for their outstanding contributions to the community. All right, well, that's it for the headlines with Jason Lee.